We are continuing on in this three-part series of Amazon advertising. A lot of people have been asking, like, hey, can I get some more details about this? And I'm happy to oblige. Hopefully, you've been following the podcast here as well with the interview guests, because actually this past week I had Amazon ad expert Rick Wong talk a little bit more about Amazon ads. And then on the main channel, he went into a deep dive that was about an hour long, showing how to set up your very first sponsored product ad. But today, we're discussing sponsored brand and Lockscreen ads and why I feel they kind of suck. But if you're going to use them, I'm going to tell you exactly what you've got to do in order to mitigate any type of, loss as far as money goes.
Learn how to publish books and build your author business with award-winning author and self-publishing consultant Dale L. Roberts. This is the Self-Publishing with Dale podcast.
Before we do jump into this third part in this three-part series, I want to, of course, remind you that you can enter for your chance to win a formatting and layout design package by Miblart and a spotlight in a future video when you visit dalelinks.com/giveaway. This third part in a four-part series with the Miblart culminates in a premium cover design valued at over $700. And for all your graphic design needs, use Miblart. Save 10% off with Dale10 when you visit my affiliate link at dalelinks.com/Miblart. There is a good reason why I requested Miblart to be the sponsor for this podcast. It's because I actually like them. They are my preferred cover design resource. I've used many before, but these guys by far are the best that I've ever worked with. All right, so let's go ahead and transition over into talking about ads. Of course, if you want to learn a little bit more about sponsored product ads, where I believe everybody should start and really gain a lot of more knowledge is through sponsored products. For the sponsored brand ads and lock screen ads, I really recommend that this is not for beginners. This is not something that you go, oh, I've got some money. Let me go ahead and just burn some money through my pocket here, or burn a hole in my pocket and just lose a lot of money, because that's exactly what's going to happen. So I want to take each one of these items one at a time, starting with the sponsored brand ads. Now, sponsored brand ads are a banner ad that appear in the relevant Amazon shopping results. So if somebody searches something, typically at the very top, just below the search window, is going to be this banner, and it's going to show 3 of those products. Now, customers see the banner ad with 3 of those top items that you choose, and when they click on the ad, it delivers them to a landing page with all the products featured in the ad campaign, which is really, really very helpful, especially if you've got this big backlog of books. Now, to set up a sponsored brand ad, you must have at least 3 titles claimed in your Author Central account or in your KDP account. One of those 2. If you don't have any of those, then sorry, you're not going to be able to set them up. Now, these types of ads are great, again, for established authors, especially authors who have a series or a deep backlog. So for instance, I've run some sponsored product ads and some sponsored brand ads for my series of the Amazon Self-Publisher. Why? Because it's a series. So I can be able to get someone to buy one of the books. Hopefully they'll read all the way through the series. Now, to create the sponsored brand ad, you have to hit the Create a Campaign button and then choose Sponsored Brand Ads, of course. And you hit Continue on there. It'll give you full explanation of what you can and can't do. Next, you'll have to name your ad campaign. And much like the previous advice that I'd given you in the previous podcast episodes covering Amazon ads, you'll want a naming convention that'll help you recall what it is at a quick glance. I'll typically put a single keyword describing the title, the type of ad, and the date. This is something that helps me when I go into my Amazon ads dashboard to kind of go through and sift through really fast. It also helps me organize everything in just the right way. So if I organize according to title or according to portfolio, everything will be where I need it to be. Now, much like the other campaign types, you can add this campaign to a portfolio. This is especially nice when you want to separate campaigns into portfolios for each book, which I highly recommend that you do that. Of course, you set your start and your end date. Right? It's a given, right? Though I usually leave it open-ended and I monitor it daily, or in my instance, I usually do weekly. Now, set your daily budget according to what you can afford. Amazon suggests starting with a daily budget of $10, though you can always go lower if you can't afford that. Also, something unique to sponsored brand ads is the ability to choose a daily budget or a lifetime budget. Now, as you learn in previous episodes here, I discussed how sponsored product ads just gives you the daily budget option. You don't have this lifetime budget. Lifetime budget is just kind of a way of just, if you have only a certain amount of money to spend and you're afraid of going over that, then this is the way to mitigate that loss. Now, let's say you only have a certain amount of money to invest in, and this is the best way to not go over the budget. This is the best way to put it. So if you're the type of person that just doesn't want to monitor it on a daily basis and you want to go to weekly, then this is the best way. So you're not worried about, oh gosh, is this going to put me into the negative in my bank account? This is a great way to do it. Now, next you'll select the author brand you wish to promote. Now, up next, you simply select all the titles you wish to promote. Once you select your titles, they'll provide you with the creative section. Now, it looks like there's nothing else below that, but as soon as you select the titles, creative section comes up. And this is where you can add your author profile picture, you can add your author name, a short headline that will hook people in and get them interested in clicking on your ad, and organize the books for how you want them displayed in the ad. That's kind of nice because when you initially select them, you're probably sitting there thinking, oh, but I want to select this book first because I want it to be here first. No, you can rearrange them in the creative section. Now, much like the sponsored product ads, you can choose whether to go with keyword targeting or product targeting. Now, rather than repeat the importance of each targeting method, I'll refer you back to the previous 2 episodes on this podcast series. It'll take some experimentation to find out what works best for conversions for you. So take your time and, of course, mind your each of your ads. It's so important that you just continue to monitor those things. Because I see a lot of authors that set it up and next thing they know it, they're into the negative and they're going, I don't know how I'm going to be able to pay for this ad. You got to monitor them. Now, this is the part where I tell you why you shouldn't go directly to sponsored brand ads. It's because if you haven't run any sponsored product campaigns, you really don't have that much, experience in this area. When you run enough sponsored product campaigns, especially automated targeting, you'll get a deep list of high converting keywords and products and an even bigger list of irrelevant or poor converting targets. Take those bad targets and toss them into the negative targeting section. This is so important because otherwise you're going to end up getting targeted to the wrong places and getting the wrong types of readers. And this is especially something that's going to happen with sponsored brands as well as the Lockscreen ads that I'm going to discuss here shortly. Now, one thing I've noticed with sponsored brand ads is the budget gets eaten up fast if you don't have a good list of negative targets. Since the sponsored brand ad has a prominent placement, quite a few customers will click on it. Some that aren't even relevant customers. Therefore, you end up spending a lot more than what you should. Again, I recommend mastering sponsored product ads first before ever trying sponsored brand ads. Now, you're probably saying, well, how long is it going to take for me to run these sponsored product ads before I can really run a sponsored brand ad? I would say as soon as you can get at least a list of 50 to 100 targets that are good converting targets, and you got a good deep list of negative targets, I would say anywhere from 100 or more negative targets that you can add to a campaign. Now, those targets, of course, can be keywords or products as per usual. I'm not against sponsored brand ads. They're great, but I will tell you this, they burn through that money pretty fast. It seems like a lot of customers are more susceptible to clicking on those versus some of the regular sponsored product ads. Now, that's not the same view that I have for lock screen ads. And let's go ahead and transition on over into that area. Amazon advertising considers lock screen ads as a tool for building awareness, and it's less about converting immediate sales. Think of lock screen ads like the park bench displays or bulletin boards of advertising on Amazon. You're essentially just getting it in front of people. I did the entire Amazon advertising certification courses. I just went through each one of those, and every time I've looked at lock screen ads, they essentially just say, this is for building awareness. Now, authors with a deeper budget and a back catalog could win with lock screen ads, but the fact is, most indie authors want to see more measurable returns on investments. If you plan to use lock screen ads, I recommend you get your other ad campaigns dialed in first so you know your numbers. That way, when you run a lock screen ad, you can check the effectiveness based on the sales before and during a campaign. So if you find that before you were running a campaign, you were selling, let's say, 10 books per day, and then you go into that campaign, you're running lock screen ads, and you're still seeing 10 per day, I would say that it's probably safe to assume that the lock screen ads aren't working. But if you see that it increases, then maybe they are working out for you. For me, I simply don't bother with lock screen ads. It's just not for me. From a reader's perspective, I tune out the ads on my Paperwhite. I've got the Kindle Paperwhite, and there are quite a few times, I'm holding this up on YouTube here, sharing it with people visually. I see these ads, I don't pay attention to them. In fact, it actually is a lot of friction for me because I just want to read what I want to read. When I want a recommendation, I'll go on Amazon and get it there. Heck, in a lot of instances, I just use my Fire tablet to read where I paid extra to not have ads served to me. They're annoying, and in a lot of instances, the recommendations are just dead wrong for what I prefer. Now, I don't know that that's going to be the same situation for all readers out there, but if you hear me out on how this kind of goes together, you'll understand why I feel this way. Much like the previous campaign types, you'll select create a campaign, then continue with the lock screen ads. You'll have to name your campaign, and now you have to set an exact start and end date. That means that you don't have the flexibility of no end date, as in the previous other campaigns. Now, you can adjust the end date once the campaign launches. So if for some reason you find that it's working really well, you can kick that can further down the road and stretch out that campaign longer. And here's the big one. Rather than setting a daily budget, you set a lifetime budget that can run as quickly as possible or spread evenly over its duration. Now, as you can imagine, running through your budget as quickly as possible means that you are going to, let's say your budget's $100. By the way, that's the minimum that you have to set your campaign for, $100. So that's also a big kicker. If some people out there like, ooh, I don't have a $100 budget deal, probably not going to be for you. Now, you're going to end up setting up that as quick as possible. They're going to burn through that really fast. Or if you spread it evenly over its duration, here's the beauty of spreading it evenly. And this is one of the methods I've used, again, with very meager results. But when they do spread it evenly, if they find that you're not getting very many clicks at the beginning of your, say, month-long campaign or however long you put it for, they're going to start to backload all of your ads. So meaning that if they don't spend all the money up front, they'll make up for it during the campaign. So as it starts to get towards the close, they're going to start to burn through that thing fast. So just fair warning on this one. When you do set that budget, they are more than willing to spend all of that. Now, the beauty of this is if for some reason you find it's not all that great and you're like, I don't like this. After 2 days, you're like, this is just not working out for me. You can literally pause the campaign. They don't force you to fulfill each of the campaigns. I used to be so nervous about this back in the early days. They weren't called lock screen ads back then. I think they were called like product display ads or something. And the thing is with that, I was so scared that I had to spend $100, like no matter what. But here's the cool thing. You really don't have to do that. Now, next, you'll have to select the title you want to advertise. And unlike the other ad options, you can only add one title, and it has to be an ebook. And I strongly recommend you do that with the other campaign types anyways. So, although you don't have to strictly limit it to ebooks. Ebooks are strictly for lock screen ads because obviously you're reaching people on an ebook platform. So, all right, now here's the part that I have the most contention with. It's the interest targeting. You have to choose broad category types in order to run your campaign. And as you may or may not know, some books are improperly categorized. So your ad could be served to the wrong audience altogether. I can't tell you how many ads I've gotten for romance books, and I don't read romance. Why are you showing me this? So that means that some author is paying for that to be served to me. And that sucks for them because I'm not their audience, but they're having to pay for it. This is why I do not recommend lock screen ads. It's just too broad and you're throwing your money down the drain in a lot of cases. Oh, and they'll burn through your budget unlike sponsored product campaigns. They have no problem going through your budget. Next, you'll set your cost per click. Of course, keep it pretty reasonable. If you really need to get a good deep dive on something like that, review the previous podcast where I do talk about good CPCs. Then put in your custom text for the ad, which can be up to 150 characters or less. The really cool thing they do is show you how your ad displays on various devices. Again, unless you have a deep backlog and ad spend, I don't recommend lock screen ads. Stick with the sponsored product ads. You'll thank me. All right, so before I do finish up with my final thoughts, I want to share one more time here. You do have a chance to enter, you can enter for a chance to win. It's easy for me to say. You can enter for a chance to win the Miblart formatting and layout design package when you visit dalelinks.com/giveaway. Now, if you happen to miss the deadline, you can always enter for the very next one, which is going to culminate in the premium cover design worth $700. That is really cool. All right, so here are my final thoughts. As I mentioned in the previous podcast in the 3-part series, take the Amazon advertising certification courses. It's available inside your dashboard. All you got to do is just look up in the top right-hand corner. You'll see a question mark. Click on that. It says training courses. Click on that, and there is a ton there. I recommend you take the KDP ones, but also take the other ones as well, because it's going to give you a good global view of how Amazon functions as a platform. And it'll clear up a lot of ambiguities and questions and get you straightened out. And if you're really still lost, join me on Discord, where we have a channel devoted to Amazon ads. That's at dalelinks.com/Discord. Stay tuned to this podcast for details about my upcoming book about Amazon advertising for books, where I go granular on the whole process and give you a clear, actionable plan to starting and managing successful Amazon ads for your books. Next week, I'll be talking about marketing your books on social media, the good, the bad, and the complete waste of time. And I see a lot of people doing some of that. Till later, this has been Self-Publishing with Dale, and I'll see you next week.
You've been listening to the Self-Publishing with Dale podcast. Visit us at selfpublishingwithdale.com for more information on how you can level up your self-publishing business. Also, check out our growing video-on-demand service, chock full of free and premium content, when you head over to theselfpublishinghub.com. If you enjoyed the show, please consider leaving a review on your preferred podcasting platform. We thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next episode.